Hello everyone, you're listening to the Earful Tower podcast. My name's Oliver G, and this is a slightly different episode for a number of reasons. But first, before I say anything, I should say that this Thursday episode, for the last time, is brought to you by Fat Tire Tours. Why is it the last time? Well, it was always going to be a summer thing. This whole season 6 of the Earful Tower, has been 2 episodes a week, and we can all thank Fat Tire Tours for that. If you really want to thank them, go and book one of their tours, fattiretours.com. You get 10% off if you use the word earful at the checkout. But hurry up, because this deal is literally not going to last. But why is this episode different? I'm going to talk a little bit more about Fat Tire at the end. But why is this episode different? Because today's guest, who is a courier, a cycling courier in Paris, David Smith, he got in touch with me. He said, hey, look, Oliver, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, look, Oliver, I'm not a blogger. I don't have a book published. I've got nothing to promote, but I think I have a kind of unique life here in Paris. I'm riding around all day. I'm seeing interesting sights, meeting interesting people, and I think your listeners might enjoy hearing it. And I said, David, come on in. And so he did. So we just spent half an hour talking about, we talked about what it's like to cycle around the streets of Paris, how the cycling landscape has changed here, some of the celebrities that he's delivered to, as well as some of the sort of secret, interesting places he's seen that he'd recommend for you. So even if you're not a cycling fan, there'll be something in this one for you. I was going to say go and buy his book or check out his blog, but he doesn't have one. David Smith, cyclist. Keep your eye out for him on the streets of Paris. But here's David Smith talking about cycling in Paris. Let's do it. David, welcome to the studio.
Hello.
Fancy seeing you again.
Yes. Yeah.
To put everybody, to catch everyone up to speed, you and I met a year and a half ago?
Yeah, 2017 something. Yeah.
Right. You remember it because of the snow. The meeting was nothing to remember. It was the snow. It was one of those rare snow days in Paris.
Yeah.
And you were sort of working on, what was the story?
I think I just replied to you a story of yours on Instagram.
Right.
And I happened to be in Paris that weekend when I was visiting my girlfriend who was living here at the time. Right. And then you were, as in your inimitable fashion, invited me for a coffee.
Right. I don't do that so much anymore.
Do you not?
Well, now there's 5,000 Instagram followers.
Okay.
I'd be drinking coffee all the time. I think back in those days, I had about 50 Instagram followers. Okay. You must be one of the earliest followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the early podcasts.
Wow, nice one. Okay. So let's rewind a little bit. I want to talk about what you do, how you got here, your tips for other people who maybe want to move to Paris. You've ticked a lot of boxes that a lot of people will be interested in. But first, explain to me, your job is essentially cycling around Paris. Essentially,
and as someone who already loves cycling before doing it, I sometimes don't feel like I'm going to work.
Right.
So it's a great job.
But what is it? Talk me through it. You're not just doing the mail and stuff, right?
No, I'm not one of those. I'm not driving one of those La Poste funny electric bikes.
No. Well, I've seen your bike. Is that the one that you use?
No, that's my Brompton folding bike, which is perfect for Paris.
Right.
Seeing them an awful lot more these days.
I think for people who don't know what a Brompton folding bike is, this is a bike that's folded down into the size of, I guess you'd say,
like less than a suitcase.
Yeah, an unusual suitcase.
Yeah, I've just hefted it up 6 flights of stairs to get here.
I think it's 7. People have told me there's 109 steps. Anne Ma, who came in recently with her daughter, counted them on the way down. So 109 steps you've come up with a bicycle. This is a first, but you don't use that. You're cycling around on...
I ride a cargo bike. It's actually an electric cargo bike as well, which is quite merciful on the legs.
Okay, right.
And a cargo bike's like it's got a sort of platform at the front, and this particular one has a sealed metal box, which I put all my deliveries inside. And yeah, it just means you can put a lot more stuff in it.
Right. And a few things that you said in your recent message to me, you said, I'm paraphrasing here, you said that you are probably, as far as you know, the only Anglophone.
As far as I know, if there are others, and they happen to be listening to this podcast.
If there are others, I think they would listen to this episode of this podcast, right?
Let's hope so.
And the other thing is that you said you have an uncanny knowledge of the streets of Paris that we can...
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'll set myself up
I think your words were that you could tell me the location of any street if I were to...
Oh, no, this is lies.
that could come back to haunt you. But I think let's talk about the city to cycle in,
Yeah.
just in general, because this is something that I know is changing a lot. I'm interested in your perspective. You spend your whole day navigating and negotiating these sort of often one-way streets.
Yeah.
Firstly, can you go down the one-way streets the wrong way?
It depends. There's
Like-
all the inconsistent sauf velo signs, which is like a contra-sense lane that bikes are allowed to go down. It doesn't stop people getting annoyed by you going down them, which is.
But the law is that you.
No, it all depends on the sign. But the
Right.
problem is sometimes there's a sign and there's no road markings, and sometimes there are road markings and there's no sign.
Right.
So.
But you haven't got in
No.
trouble with police yet, have you?
Thanks for bringing that up.
That's
Oliver.
something we're going to get into in a second as well. But in general, what's the city like? Is it a good cycling city? You've come from.
I've come from Bristol beforehand,
Right.
Which is a very hilly place. But even so, has somewhat of a burgeoning cycling culture. Paris is, it's not bad. Certainly, it's in places it's not for the faint-hearted.
Right.
But I think Anne Hidalgo's new bike lanes are making a big difference. It's
You're
certainly
referring to the mayor of
Yeah,
Paris, in case
that's
she's
it.
listening. And
the ones that have recently opened up have made a big difference to me being able to go down certain ways that I wasn't able to before.
they've totally they've put a load of bike lanes in, especially
Yeah.
centrally
Yes,
on the big boulevards.
Yeah, Rue de Rivoli with a contresens bike path. There's the tunnel that's by the Quai de Seine, just by the side of the Louvre, where it pops you out right by the Ile de la Cité, which is always quite fun to go down there and pop out the other side.
You mean the one that's running along the Tuileries?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So that's for the bicycles now.
Well, yeah, you get like policemen on their horses going down there. It often
really?
smells of horse poo.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a little secret no one really knew. But in general, it's okay. You don't. I mean, think about someone's listening right now. Maybe who knows, in Belgium, and they're thinking. I don't know if Belgium's a cycling city, but they're thinking.
In terms of professional cycling, it's the heartland.
Okay, well then let's talk to some of these Belgians. They're coming over to Paris. They want to just rent a bike and go for a bit of a shoot around the city. Would you recommend it, or? I mean, you're obviously
as
a pro.
As a cyclist, I'm always gonna my ingrained hatred of cars will always spur me to encourage people to cycle.
But you don't think it's dangerous? Just to an everyday person.
It can be.
Right.
I have developed somewhat of a. Yeah, it requires 360 degrees of attention.
Right.
But frankly, that's more visibility than people sat in a car have.
Right,
so, yeah.
true. But do you find that? I mean, I find when I'm on the scooter going around town that I'm kind of hyper aware of people who might be, forget that they're driving a car or forget that they shouldn't step 100%. Onto the road. Are you also like in a perpetual state of?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just. It's like a bird.
What do you mean? You're like a bird?
Yeah. Like
how are you like a bird?
Like an owl.
Oh, right.
Just always like twitching my head around.
Yeah.
180
degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. Coffee helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any coffee recommendations?
It would be remiss of me not to shout out to my friend Daniel at Honor Cafe.
Hello, Daniel, if you're listening.
Yeah, fellow Aussie.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Good day.
Good day, mate. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I pass by there on Faubourg Saint-Honoré several times a day.
That's quite the swish part of town, and that's partly what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, my particular company has a lot of clients like Dior and Louis Vuitton and all the big haute couture companies. So I spend a lot of my time going between Galeries Lafayette, Printemps, Avenue Montaigne, and so much so that targeted advertising
Absolutely.
on Instagram, etc.
Yeah.
You know how they're always watching where you are.
Sure.
They've clocked on that I'm going to these places all the time now.
Right.
And now I'm seeing Louis Vuitton being targeted at me, which they know nothing about.
They've got you all wrong, huh?
Yeah, they really have. Yeah.
Goodness me. What about that's a nice place to be spending your days, though.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're going into these shops and stuff?
Yeah, well, it depends what your preference for nice is. I like rough and ready places.
Right. I mean, nice as in it's clean and.
That's not always.
No?
The eighth. There's you'd be amazed at anyone who's visited to Paris or lived in Paris know that Paris sometimes has and often has a stench to it.
Sure.
You'd be amazed that there are places even in the 8th arrondissement, like La Triangle d'Or.
Right.
Golden Triangle with like François Premier and all around there. You'd be amazed that the stench can reach that far.
I thought it was just always perfect down there. I'm very seldom in the 8th or the...
Yeah, well, I mean, it is perfect, and maybe that's what I don't like about it so much, you know? Like, I really enjoy when my deliveries, they send me like a little bit further off the beaten track. Not for that reason, but also just to like fill in the gaps in like my knowledge of Paris. Like, it gets quite repetitive sometimes, but when you do get something out of the ordinary, I really enjoy it.
So what is it that you enjoy? I mean, I take it that you really like this job, or you really like cycling at least around Paris.
Yeah.
You emailed me once to say that you'd found, I can't remember what it was exactly. You'd found some...
Yeah, I think I remember. It was 29 Boulevard Haussmann, and I don't know where it's their headquarters, but it's one of the main places for Société Générale, the big bank. And unfortunately, right at the entrance, it says "Don't take any photos," which is a shame because it's like stepping back in time to like the 1920s.
What is it though? I don't know. I've still not been
it's
there.
A little bit like Le Coupole in Galerie Lafayette with the glass like circular. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Gringotts from Harry Potter.
Yeah,
that's a reference I wasn't expecting to say.
You'd be amazed how often Harry Potter comes up in this show, actually. But it's so that's the Goblin Bank where it's okay. So you walk in there. So your job is you get sent to an address. You walk in there and you go, whoa.
Yeah,
fancy that.
Yeah, depends. Yeah. Courtyards. I know you love a courtyard.
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
Tell me some good ones.
Oh, off the top of my memory, that would be difficult.
That's something that if you ever go into the good courtyards and you find really good ones that are kind of accessible.
Do I ever keep the code? Is that what you're saying?
No, I was thinking about it. But if you do, take a nice picture. Send it along.
Yeah.
Send it along. I'll share that. That sounds really nice. Or just tag me on Instagram.
I once, do you know Berluti, the leather fashion brand?
Not so much.
I wouldn't know it if I wasn't doing this job, honestly. I once delivered to Madame Berluti, must have been the person who owns that company, and it was like a ground floor in the Marais, and the courtyard was like, super nice.
Isn't that the Marais is amazing for that kind of stuff? But often you need the code or you need to be invited in, and it's so. I mean,
I got the codes.
You've got the codes. Do you? What's the deal? Like, there's so many people. Like the guy that delivers the pizza has the code to all the apartments as well. Isn't this a concern?
Well, maybe. Maybe. I mean, I've delivered to some celebrities, places like, Marion Cotillard.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you meet her?
No, I didn't meet her, but I've had a delivery in my hand for...
So she bought something and you had to take it to her place.
Or it might be like a press... like a magazine or something like that who's sending certain people clothes to try out or something
because
like
you're in the fashion world. It's all making sense now. Yeah. And then, so do you have to sign something to say I won't reveal where she lives or I won't reveal the code?
Well, I think there's that GDPR which came in like a year or so ago.
Right.
European Union law about data protection.
So you essentially can't reveal that kind of
and
information.
Plus,
But I mean, like, I'm just from a personal point of view, like, I always think that all these, the codes, there's nothing sacred about the codes into any of these buildings.
No, true.
I'm amazed there aren't more burglaries in Paris. Right. Just because, like, you just need, or not you, anyone just needs to tell one more person.
Yeah. Especially as when, like, as you have probably done, sneaking into a courtyard.
I never sneak into a courtyard.
Is that you sort of wait for someone to just sort of exit and then, boom, you're in.
Yeah, goodness me. What's that arrondissement does Marion Cotillard live in? Are you allowed to say that much?
I don't know.
Yeah, just tell me if it's a fancy one.
I feel a little bit uncomfortable saying.
Okay, he's held up the fingers. I'm not going to tell you even how many hands he held up then, but I know the answer. I'll tell Patreon supporters that one. What I want to ask you though is, when we met just now, you came in with I wouldn't say a sullen look on your face. But
that was tiredness.
Despite your cheery disposition and the colourful hat that you got on your head, you had the look of a man who's had a run-in with the police. I think we have to talk about it.
Okay, we're going to have to.
Because it's the first time, right?
Yeah. Just so happens that the day I'm doing a podcast talking about my job is the first day on the job that I've been given a fine by the police.
Right, walk me through it.
It was at Esplanade des Invalides.
Okay. Is that the big one coming towards the river from
the... Yeah, around there, yeah.
Yep.
I was like turning onto Rue de l'Université. And it was the classic kind of sort of balancing on the pedals, waiting for the light to turn red.
Right.
And
So you were turning right on?
no, I was going straight on, but
Okay.
you get used to the sequencing of the lights where you can see the pedestrian light turn green
Yep.
for the right turn for the other intersection.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sort of went just slightly too early. I'm talking like I don't jump lights all the time.
But that's the thing, cyclists do, right? Let's be honest here.
No, I
Okay,
know.
we don't have to say that you do, because you have a job to protect, but
Yeah.
most cyclists in Paris give
Well,
little
yeah.
thought to
No,
any
and
red lights.
and it's old people, it's people with kids on the back in a child
Sure,
seat.
sure.
I once chased after a guy who was consistently. It was going down Rue du Turbigo.
Yeah, nice street.
Um,
Good angel. Have you seen
and
that?
No,
Halfway down Turbigo, there's an angel. If you're heading sort of towards Sebastopol, halfway down, there's a big intersection going 10 different ways. Near the Arts et Métiers, there's a big angel up to the right. You got to find that Caryatide, it's called.
Okay,
Beautiful. Check that one out.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you're going down Turbigo, you're following a guy.
Yeah, and he had a kid on the back of his in the child seat,
Yeah.
and he was just like paying no okay. If I jump a light, I do it with care and attention.
Stealth as well.
Yeah, this guy was just
Really?
like paying no attention. I just caught up to him and I was like, with my, I can't remember what I said. I think I rolled up to him. I was like, no. Like, avec, sans, pas avec un petit. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's very hard to
Yeah.
chastise someone
Yeah, I
in
know,
your foreign
it
language
is.
where you're not
It's
very
very
good at it.
difficult.
So you went up, you would have been like
Oh,
Borat going, not with child. You
Yeah.
probably said like, not pregnant or something like that.
Yeah. That's another thing about cursing drivers
Mm.
in a foreign language. I
Mm.
still can't swear
No.
in French,
Mm.
which is somewhat freeing actually, because you
Mm.
can just mouth off in your own
You
language.
do it in English, yeah. Yeah. Hang on, but let's get back to it. You're trying to avoid the cop story.
Yeah.
So you're balancing, you're doing that thing where you're balancing
Yeah.
with both pedals.
I go a little bit early.
Yeah, you go just a bit early, straight
Yeah,
through.
and
And just
it
for full disclosure, on some traffic lights in Paris, cyclists can go through.
Yeah.
There'll be a little sign on the traffic light itself with a bicycle, and that means you can go through on the red.
Yep.
This wasn't one of those.
No.
Okay, so you start going.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like a full police car. It was one of these Mairie de Paris.
Oh,
Like, you know, so it's like they could be anything. They could be like a janitor or
yeah,
something.
yeah, it could
And they were like the first car waiting at the light. And so
in
I
front
went.
of you,
Behind
you?
me.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So I went, and I got my little Bluetooth speaker on
Sure.
for entertainment, and I was playing some music.
Podcast, music, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I went, and then the siren went.
At least they had a siren.
Yeah.
You know, like if it was just a janitor, he'd start
Yeah,
banging on
yeah.
the rooftop or something.
The siren went, and initially, in that situation, you just keep riding and pretend it's not you, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Well, that's what you do.
And then they stopped, and then the siren started up again. And so I look around, and okay, they actually want to talk to me.
Right.
What was kind of scary and what I wasn't used to was them asking for mes papiers. I was like,
Right.
that sounded like it's just not something you'd hear
No.
from like being a Brit. You just wouldn't hear it going, "Can I see your papers?" Like it sounds a little bit
Yeah.
wartime.
It does, doesn't it? But maybe it's just the equivalent,
Yeah,
like in
no,
America.
it's just
registration. What do they say?
I just wanted to see
registration.
a pièce d'identité. Like,
Yeah.
So I oblige, and what she said she was going to be kind with me, right?
Right.
Instead of giving me a fine for jumping a red light, she gave me a fine for nuisance publique.
Public nuisance.
Public nuisance.
Yeah.
I am a public nuisance.
Officially. Yeah.
Because
Because of the music?
Because of the music, and she thought that me with my music meant that I couldn't hear her siren.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Yeah. So she's let me off kind. I still feel slightly miffed about it.
Well, how much was the fine?
68 euros. I mean, it could have been
68,
worse.
yeah. If you think every red light you've ever cut was 20 cents, right?
20 cents.
Yeah, let's just imagine it adds up. Then you've kind of just paid the sins for all
Okay,
the
yeah.
red lights that you've gone
Yeah.
through.
That's a bit like people not paying for the metro here, isn't it?
Well, the same thing, right? Yeah,
people jump in it, and then they
yeah.
just go, if I get caught, I pay 50 euros.
Interesting that she was kind to you like that. What was
Well, this is the thing, is that now that I've been here long enough, my French has improved enough to the point where I can't play dumb. It happened one time before where I managed to talk my way out of getting the police ticking me off, just because I was like, je comprends rien.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've always wondered what language I'll speak the day I get pulled over by a police officer when riding my scooter.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And I went around the whole country. The whole country, no stopping. But,
it's not bad. Good effort.
Yeah. I think it's because my top speed isn't anywhere near going to raise eyebrows anywhere.
No.
But interesting. So €68 fine. Public nuisancy.
Yeah. Let's hope I don't get deported after Brexit for this on my
Well, that's something else we should talk about because we've got a little bit of time left. I think, there'll be a lot of Americans listening to us now.
Yes.
But there might be some English people too. And many of them might be thinking, I wouldn't mind moving down to France.
Yeah.
Brexit's coming. Is this a concern for you?
It probably should be more of a concern to actually get on and do something about it. The problem is that as anyone who's had anything to do with prefectures and all this sort of thing is that they are rather unreliable, and especially as myself, I live in the banlieue,
the suburbs,
which means you go to a different prefecture to sort all that stuff out, and our particular one is a nightmare. They don't even have a online facility to book a meeting. You have to queue up and arrive at the prefecture at stupid o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and you know what? You've got a big red cross against your name as a public nuisance as well.
Yes.
Good luck. But it's so as a Brit in Paris, you're not so worried about. I say impending Brexit. We don't even know what's going to happen yet. But is it? Are you in any British circles and are people worrying about it?
Yeah. My girlfriend's also British. Yeah, I know quite a few other people. Sort of mixed Australian and British, so Australians who are essentially here on a British passport.
Like me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm in the same similar boat.
Yeah.
Have
you done anything about it?
No, not yet. I'm waiting to see what I have to do.
Yeah.
The other thing is once you've been in France for 5 years, you can become French.
Yeah.
I'm on 4.5.
Really?
Yeah. So I might be French next time you see me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you're wearing a hoops shirt right now.
I am wearing it's a marinier sort of Breton sailor shirt.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a Frenchman wearing one.
Well, I do my best, If I ever have to, I'm doing everything.
Go to the interview with that one.
Well, that's the thing. I'm doing the opposite of you. You're brash. You don't care if you're a nuisance. Look at me. I'm assimilating. Yeah. All right, we gotta start winding things up here a little bit. Time's flying away, much like a cyclist in Paris. Well, rather than put you on the spot, which I think is a bit cruel, I kind of wanted you to recommend some streets to see. Not even necessarily for cycling, but just the fact that you've, got to know the streets so well.
Yes.
Let's say you got family visiting or friends or tourists and you want to point them to a really sort of underrated street. Where would you point them?
I would go somewhere in the 9th, perhaps. I know you've mentioned it before, but Rue des Martyrs is quite a nice street.
You like that one?
Yeah, I think so. It's quite nice just going up the hill on it.
Going up the hill on a bike?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm one of these stupid people that enjoys going uphill on a bicycle.
But you've also got an electric bike, you said.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But that's a nice street.
Yeah.
Right up into the heart of Montmartre.
Yeah. I went up, I rarely actually have deliveries up in Montmartre, but I had one the other day, which was, I can't remember what it's called, but it was just off Rue des Abbesses. And it's a really steep cobbled street. You might know it.
I probably do, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a cafe at the top of it and like a patisserie. Is
the cafe got beautiful pink flowers?
Can't remember. It had wood panelling on the outside.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I think you mean, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. The cafe's called Ceylon.
Maybe.
Halfway up the hill? Yeah. I was there this morning. Good cafe. Maybe they're listening.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But so that street, I don't know what it's called, but it's a nice one.
Yeah, I just enjoyed going up and down it on the cobbles. Quite fun.
You make a good point. The 9th and the 18th is a really good place to, I think, underrated too. Most people, when they go to the 18th, they go straight into the heart of Montmartre. Yeah. They walk around. Not good for cycling, probably. Too many people kicking around.
No, and the going down the hill on cobbles can be a bit nervy.
But let's end on a famous question here. You're on your last day in Paris.
Yes.
Brexit happens. You're being deported back to England.
Because that's a possibility.
It's depressing, but it's true. Yeah. And they say you have to. They say you have to spend the day in 1 arrondissement. Do you already know this question? I feel like you've already heard it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yet I've given it no thought whatsoever. On a day off on the weekend with my leisure time, it usually involves ending up by the canal.
Right.
So it would be something like the 11th/10th.
Let's narrow it down. Let's say the 11th, or the 10th.
The 10th.
Okay, so what are you going to be spending that day doing?
The usual, just coffee and walking.
Yeah.
try not to spend too much money. That's
Right.
the problem.
I think a lot of people sort of overlook the 10th because it's not so touristy. You know, if you want to tick off the tourist sites, you're going everywhere else.
I kind of want to add in the 19th there as well. Just basically walking, up to the Bassin de la Villette.
Mm-hmm.
Very lucky around there.
The Bassin de la Villette, the big sort of canal / pond that connects all the waterways.
Which I've not swam in yet.
Can recommend it. It's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it's nice. If you do it when they've got the pools there, I wouldn't recommend it otherwise. No. Okay, well, I think they were good answers there. I think we can wrap things up. Thanks for coming into the studio. Good luck on your wheels going around town.
Thank you.
And stay away from the police.
Yeah, let's hope so.
But but thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you, Oliver.
Well, there you have it. There was David talking about cycling in Paris. We had a little chat before. He said he noticed that a lot of the guests on this show, I always love having a guest who's a listener to the show because they can give me some insights. And he said it tends to be a lot of Americans that I have on the show, and Americans and Brits are a little bit different. And I said, yeah, that's even true from my perspective in terms of guests. So it's always interesting to have different nationalities on. If you think you'd be a good guest on the show, and if you're from a nationality that I've not covered, get in touch. I'll have you on, especially if you've got a story to tell like David did. But before we get into Fat Tire and a little bit of promotion for them, the last promotion for them, I'm going to read a little bit of what I call Gmail, which is where someone emails in to me, Oliver G. Someone emailed me in saying, I don't know how to email you in, which is one of the oddest things that's happened so far. If you want to send an email, you can find it on the contact form of the website, theearfultower.com, or you can just email oliver@theearfultower.com. Pretty simple. So to that person, you answered your own question. You just emailed me. But listen, I've got this one from a super fan on Patreon, Brian Fitzgerald, Fitzy Golf Pro. He has a YouTube channel. Check him out if you're into learning golf. But he says, Oliver, I was just listening to your Raising a Bilingual Family episode on my way to work this morning. He's referring to Olivier, the husband of Camille from French Today. He says, now he's referring to Carl's suggestion. Carl was someone who wrote in with a suggestion, if I remember exactly, it was to do an episode about Le Train Bleu, the restaurant in the Gare de Lyon. And Brian says, on Carl's suggestion on doing an episode on Le Train Bleu, just a warning. Oh, a bit of a warning from Brian. This will be interesting. He says, we were there recently with the girl whose apartment we stayed in Paris. We had 6 small bottles of soft drink, and when we were leaving, the waiter put the bill on the table. Nothing unusual there, Brian. What happened? I put a €50 note on the table, and the waiter didn't move. He just coughed. I can imagine this cough. Was it a sort of I thought, this is strange. €50 should cover it. It didn't. The bill was for €54. Be careful. €54. I'm no mathematician, but that sounds like it's €9 per small soft drink, and that is outrageous. I'm going to do something for the benefit of the American listeners here. €9 in USD is $9.98. So there you go, $9.98, which is incidentally, by the way, what you can get a month of the Earful Tower for. What would you rather, a month of the Earful Tower or one small soft drink at Le Train Bleu? Really puts it into perspective, guys. Okay, so Brian continues. Be careful, he says. The funny thing is, we left after and walked to a wine bar called Le Baron Rouge near the Bastille Market, where we met another friend. 6 glasses of wine and a charcuterie platter cost €35. Don't sneeze in Le Train Bleu. Regards, Brian. Brian, thank you for being a super fan on Patreon. I will always read your emails. I really appreciate the support. And everybody else, it's a pretty good warning. I've never eaten or drank anything in the Train Bleu restaurant. And guess what? I don't think I will. Expensive stuff there. Thanks for the tip. You know what? I got another email recently that ties on perfectly. It was from Tom. And it's a long email. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But funnily enough, he said, I think he knows, as everybody else does, if you put a question in, I'm much more likely to read it. And he wrote, my question is L squared, which I assume refers to lovely Lena, my wife. Is L squared so lovely when the red scooter breaks down or when you run out of gas? She is. She's always lovely. And we did break down several times on the honeymoon adventure, and she was always perfectly lovely. And then he says, seriously, you two inspire and lighten our hearts. But what I really want to know is if there's one wine bar or cave that a person visiting Paris in the first week of October this year, for example, should frequent, that I would recommend. And guess what? I recommend exactly what Brian said, Le Baron Rouge in the Bastille. It's right near the Marché d'Aligre. Perfect. Go and check that out. Le Baron Rouge, the Baron Rouge, the Red Baron. And then there was a bit more in Tom's email. He said, profuse apologies. I was steadfast in joining the Earful Tower Patreon tribe this month. This is sounding promising, Tom. However, here we go. However, I caved into the allure of the 10% Earful Tower discount on top of the 20% Labor Day discount on the beginner bundle deal from French Today. The colossal cost saving in conjunction with Camille's captivating content and commentary caused a quick capitulation. How might I make it up to you? Well, it's lovely that you're buying the French Today, but if you want to make it up to me, sign up on Patreon. That's the theme. But let's bring it back to the sponsor of the show, Fat Tire. So this is the last one, guys. I hope you've enjoyed having 2 episodes a week. It's been twice as much work for me, but I've really enjoyed it. I've scrambled a few times to get a guest, but I've kind of enjoyed it, actually. I enjoy doing the extra episodes, and I'm really grateful to see that that people are listening. This month, August, it looks pretty set that it's going to have 50,000 downloads, this show, for the month, which in podcasting terms is it's not bad for an independent podcast. If you compare it to the big ones out there that get 1 million downloads per episode, this is peanuts. But considering it's just little old me in the studio in Paris under the stars by myself, I think we're doing all right. So thank you to everybody for listening. But these extra episodes were made possible by Fat Tire. And let me just repeat what I said at the start. If you want to book one of their tours, you get 10% off if you use the code word EARFUL at the checkout. They signed up for the summer. 3 months have gone by. The whole season is finished. But I really recommend, if you're thinking about coming to Paris, go back and listen to my episode about Giverny and Monet's Gardens. You could also listen to the one about Versailles and Marie Antoinette's Hamlet. I did a bunch of episodes and videos with them. It'll give you a taste. You can go and watch the video of the Segway that I did, biking around, up the Eiffel Tower. All that stuff is there. Really good company. I think it was really lovely of them to take a chance on sponsoring this podcast. So thank you to them if you guys are listening. And thanks to everybody who booked their tours, which made it worthwhile as a sponsorship and a partnership as far as I can tell. But that's what I'm going to say. Thank you to them. One thing I wanted to mention quickly before I forget. The book club this month, August, has been Paris to the Past. That's over. We've had a big discussion about it on the Facebook page. I'm not going to get into it, but what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you what the book for next month is, September. It's Paris, Paris by David Downey. Go and check it out. I've already started reading it. It is a very well-written book. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I had the good fortune of meeting his wife, who took the photos in the books. I bumped into her in a bookshop recently. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get David on the show. If you're listening, David, get in touch. But that's something to look forward to for September. Now, the serious part, if you're still listening, I'm glad that I've kept you around this long. But this is where I'm in a bit of a predicament. With Fat Tire no longer sponsoring the show, I either don't have a sponsor for the Thursday episodes, which means if you're out there and you think that you could make a good partnership with me, where I could talk about your company, where I could promote it to 50,000 downloads a month, then get in touch, because I'm up for another sponsor and I think it could work really well. If you're a listener and you're sitting there in your car driving along now and you've heard me talk about Patreon subscription before, now is the time to support the work that you value, because I'm going to take a serious pay cut as of tomorrow, I think. So if you value the work, if you want to see behind the scenes, I know a lot of people listening in America listen to NPR, public radio, where they ask you to, as I understand, they beg you to donate some money every couple of months. This is my drive. This is my push. If you guys appreciate the Earful Tower, if you want extras, there's lots of bonus videos, sign up. $10 a month. It'll make a big difference to me, and hopefully it won't make a big difference to you. Like Brian said, it's the price of a small soft drink in Paris. And if you come to Paris and you're going to spend $10 on something, don't have the soft drink. Spend it on the Earful Tower. It'll make this show better. It will actually make it better. For example, tomorrow, I'm going to go to the 18th arrondissement town hall, where I'm going to interview the mayor. The mayor of Montmartre is going to be on this show. You know how I got him? When I message the people, I say, look, this show has this many downloads, these are the previous guests, and it just gets bigger and bigger. You guys are helping it. They see what's going on. They want to be part of it too. Let's help build this thing. Patreon.com/The Earful Tower. I hope to see you on the other side. If you can't sign up on Patreon, if you can't book a tour with Fat Tire Tours, you know what I'd really like you to do is tell your friend. Tell your friend to listen to this show. Help me get more downloads. It'll all make a difference, and I appreciate it more than you'd ever believe. So thank you very much. I will talk to you again on Monday. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.